Hey, welcome, guys. It's time for Bollocks, Talks, and Tangents. Ricky giving us that countdown. We got Ricky in the studio for the very first time.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Hey, welcome into Bollocks, Talks, and Tangents. He's going to laugh and learn, and hopefully everyone out there will too. I forgot to share the show, and he gave us 2 minutes warning, and I was over here just in la social media land.
And I already did. I'm getting good at this.
I know. That's what makes me frightened is you beat me to the punch. I got to say hi to everyone out there. And you know what? It's a beautiful day out.
Gorgeous. Why are we inside? Can we have class outside, teach?
We should do our show outside. But we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Interesting. I had some people I didn't realize died in a plane crash or a helicopter crash. I don't know if you ran into some of those. I mean, and some of them I wanted to know more about the story. Right. So we're talking today. We're talking about aviation accidents and famous people that went down in these aviation accidents. I have a couple people that actually survived plane crashes, which is kind of unique. Yours didn't. None of yours made it.
None of them made it.
All right. So we've been talking about our whiskey of the week, but it's actually a rum, not a whiskey.
Nice.
So it is, and I want to give you the official title. It is the Reserve Rum, and it says pot distilled in the nation's oldest city. It is 50% alcohol, 100 proof, and it is a quality rum.
Nice.
And we did have a little problem with the cork.
Yes, but you rectified it.
Yeah. So
I like that.
And you guys saw my cork hack. Nothing's going to keep me from my rum.
I gotta work on my posture.
All right. Yeah, we've been talking about that for years.
Put a microphone up.
So what I had to do.
Face a little bit, Lenny, please.
And
there you go. Perfect.
All right.
But now it's
Ricky, I don't know which camera we're on.
You're on both of you.
All right.
Yep, you're good.
So I had to put a screw in the top of the cork. All right. And then I had to take the pliers to pull out the cork. Not going to do it right now because it does take a little bit of working back and forth. Right. But that's how you handle in case you've got a wine bottle that just kind of broke off or something like that. You can always use a screw, or you don't have even a corkscrew. You can take a screwdriver, put it down into the cork, and then pull it out with a pair of pliers. So. And
we were not going to be deterred. We were looking forward to this run.
Yeah, no, we've been waiting.
Yes, there was no chance it was not going to happen.
But this is what happens when you let the New York guy who's been waiting for alcohol go after the cork right away. His muscle, his incredible physique overpowered the cork. So, Lenny, you got to know your own strength, man.
I'm working on it.
But
cheers. I'm still a work in progress.
Cheers. Ricky, cheers in there.
Cheers.
I like your headdress that you have going on.
Davey got me a shirt.
Proud of you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's smooth. That's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a little bit of a kick on the other side.
Yeah, but it's not bad.
No, it's a pleasurable kick.
It's 100 proof. It's 50% alcohol by volume.
All right. Well, let's go over our sponsors, and then we'll get into our word origins. I don't even know what your word origin was today.
Oh.
Well, I'm going to be excited.
Okay.
I was trying to cheat.
It's an interesting one.
Lenny draws in multiple colors over here. Do you dream in color?
I do.
All right, I dream in black and white.
I dream
so
in
that might be why I'm this boring over here, and you're that.
I dream in colors, and I dream in recipes.
You dream in recipes. Yes. Oh, you kind of put it all together and kind of
work on recipes in my sleep.
Ricky, you dream in color?
I can't even call it, honestly. I don't know. I can't even. You said that before, and I've thought about that, and I can't remember if it's in color or not.
I have friends that don't dream at all.
I feel like it is.
Ooh.
I definitely dream, and I've been in dreams where I can control my dream. And I like dreams. It's
I think
interesting.
Julie prefers not to dream, and I dig my dreams.
I enjoy my dreams.
Same.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. So, but I do. I mean, my dreams are in black and white, 100% in black and white. Every once in a while, color will pop in.
Right.
But it's more of a, how like they take old movies and color in the like certain colors of it. Yep. That's what my dream is like.
Okay.
So I know that's kind of weird. But if you're out there, guys, please hit that share button and make sure you spread it around. If you love the show, please share it. If you don't love the show, send it to your people that you dislike. Maybe they will love it. All right. Our sponsors, we already talked a little bit about it. St. Augustine Distillery, that's where this amazing rum came from. Number one distillery in the country. They won that award.
Deservedly so.
And City Gate Spirits. And next week, we're super excited about next week's.
Yeah.
It's a mango daddle whiskey.
I'm going to dream up a recipe for that.
A mango daddle. So you got all week to come up with a
And I
good
will.
recipe for that. So,
Hey,
all right.
we were very successful with our peach whiskey
Oh, the
and
peach
tea.
whiskey was
Ooh,
so
man, that was
It was
delicious.
so good. It was with the it was Ricky. It was with the sweet tea
Oh, nice.
and the peach whiskey. It just tasted like sweet tea with
yeah, I like
oh,
peach
it-
tea.
It was
Oh,
delicious,
amazing.
man.
peach tea. It tasted like it's. I mean, it was dangerous good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was slap you before you knew it. Yeah,
Yeah, like it's one of those. You have three of them. You stand up and went, wait a second, what happened?
Call them sneakers because they
All right.
sneak up on you.
Yep, and I'll tell you this. I've been in this next bar,
Couple times?
and I've had a couple sneakers on me.
Couple times? Yeah.
Actually, if you do 3 shots of Jameson back to back, it's not really a sneaker. You know it's going to kick you right in the. Yeah. Meehan's Irish Pub.
I've heard of it.
It's 3 bars in one. They have the pub inside, the oyster bar upstairs, and the backyard. They always have amazing live music, amazing food.
Food's great.
Just, you know, I can tell you right now, I put it on the list as best bar food you'll ever find.
And I'll say staff as well. It's got the best staff in town.
Yeah, wonderful staff. All right, and here's another group that's absolutely wonderful because they keep me out of trouble, and that's Aber Kresge and Associates, the best CPAs in town. I got a rebate for 2023. I haven't done
Nice.
2020.
Nice.
I'm just now getting to 2023. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm that guy on the taxes, and I got a rebate, and I'm a little conflicted. I'm happy I'm getting a rebate.
Right?
I'm angry I sent too much money to the government.
No. But you get it back. I don't. They don't put interest on that, do they? They don't give you your interest.
They don't give you your interest
charge your
back.
interest if you
Yeah.
don't pay.
Yeah, well, I'm getting charged interest for filing late.
Right.
So my rebate could have been probably better if I'd have filed earlier. All right, but that was on me.
I did estimates for a while until it got to the point where I would never remember to send the checks in.
Yeah,
That didn't work well.
That was on me. All right, St. Augustine Pirate Museum, and I'll let you know right now there are no pirates on our list.
No, I had to think about that for a second. No.
Yeah, there's no.
Well, hey, whoa.
The Flying Dutchman.
There's a pirate on your list. Don't be silly.
Oh,
Come on,
You
Troy
are-
Blevins.
You are 1,000% correct. There is a pirate on our list. St. Augustine Pirate Museum. They have over 800 original artifacts right there on Sponsor Row. Thank you for that correction.
You're very welcome.
Very well putting that together.
Yep.
You know, but get down there and see them. They also have the Colonial Quarter, and they do the Oak. Do
Yeah.
a wonderful job
Yeah.
with the music.
Yeah.
And they also have great food at Bull and Crown and the
Yep.
Taberna. But get over there and stop in and see them. All right, talking about great food. The next one on our list, you got to talk about it because we have a sandwich over there.
Kaiser's.
Yeah.
Man, it's great. And you know what? For those of you living on the island, the Publix in St. Augustine Beach is closing, so you can't get your pub subs there. And why schlep all the way to Cobblestone? Go to Kaiser's Deli and Market on Anastasia Boulevard. He will take care of all your sub needs, your catering needs, your sandwich needs, your delicious food needs.
What was it? The new Ciabatta?
Ciabatta. The ciabatta, yeah.
Ciabatta?
Oh,
I
man.
don't know how to say it.
Ciabatta.
Ciabatta?
Ciabatta. You could
Yeah, I loved him in Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. Whoa.
Can you do a good Chewbacca, Ricky? Oh, that's pretty solid.
Better than mine.
Pretty solid.
Better than mine.
Sounded like a female Chewbacca, but it's all right.
Right.
Yeah, as long as you follow it with "Hey," it's obviously a female.
I'm good. I did my wrist like this for the.
Sailor.
So, but yeah, Kaiser's.
Yeah.
The bollocks is half turkey, half pastrami.
Well, yours is.
Mine is.
In the real world, it's half turkey, half ham.
Okay.
But yours,
I changed-
upgrade. You upgrade.
I changed mine to pastrami.
I think you should change the whole thing to pastrami. Actually.
Yeah. Well, you got to talk to the owner.
I have some sway there.
Yeah,
I think I might
that-
have to.
I think that's the way. I think that's the way it should be eaten.
It could be. Yeah.
Are you a pastrami guy?
I don't even know if I've had it before, honestly.
You don't know if you've
Oh,
had
well.
pastrami.
No.
All
I
right,
don't
you
think
got to
so.
get over there and try the bollocks.
Deal.
So
Yes,
have
sir.
it pressed.
Tomorrow for
Kaiser-
lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaiser's is just they have a nice little market over there.
Beautiful, yep.
A lot of local vendors.
Getting a little chili. He's playing with soup now.
Okay.
Yeah, he did a Maine corn chowder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Chowder. Corn chowder. What is that?
Got potatoes in it. What can I tell you?
Oh, it's got taters.
Yeah.
Well, you should have led with that. That makes it a tater.
Tater chowder?
Tater chowder.
There you go.
Yeah.
And corn floating around in it.
Yeah. It's stuff that never goes away.
Tasty.
Exactly. All right. And last but not least, Coquina Coast Realty. In case you're wondering, give me a call, 904-669-7901. Commercial, residential, I can help you with all those. I do have some office space available right now in the Treasury Building and an office in the Cigar Building. So if you're looking for office space, please give me a call, 904-669-7901, and I'll help you out the best I can. All right, we're talking about aviation accidents and the people that lost their lives in airplanes and helicopters.
Yep.
And Hindenburgs. And,
right, exactly.
I don't have any of the Hindenburgs.
No.
Last time I said I didn't have a pirate, and I was corrected.
Well,
I do have a pirate.
You have a prominent pirate.
All right, so what is your word origin?
Well, I went nautical instead of aeronautical, and I'm doing flotsam and jetsam. And it's interesting because we've been talking about this for a while.
Wait. Say that again.
Flotsam and jetsam.
Okay, is that a term?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ricky, you ever heard that term?
No, never.
Okay.
All right, he's about the Dennis
Enlighten
Millers.
me.
Okay.
All right.
Oh no, it's very common, especially if you're in the water. If you're a
Flotsam?
boater, flotsam
And jetsam.
and jetsam.
I've had a boat for over 30 years.
Well, fortunately, this is not. It's a good thing you don't know this term then,
Okay, all right, let's hear it.
because flotsam is what comes off a boat, not deliberately. If a boat is sinking or wrecked or there's something of that nature, whatever floats off of that is the flotsam.
Okay.
And it's not deliberate. The jetsam is if you're trying to lighten your load or you're intentionally throwing things overboard. You know, like a square perch or something like that.
Okay.
And you're throwing it over if you're being chased. If you're being chased by the Coast Guard,
Yeah.
the square perch goes over. That's jetsam.
Yeah.
Now, there's a distinction. Flotsam and jetsam, the terms have been around since the 15 and 1600s.
Ricky, you do know what a square perch is, right?
Yes, square grouper
all right,
too.
all right, yeah,
right,
grouper.
yeah,
absolutely,
Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir, I'm with you.
And flotsam is intentionally thrown off.
Well, floatsam's not intentionally.
Flotsam not intentionally. I'm sorry.
Jetsam
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
all
the
right.
rum is great.
Yeah.
The flotsam is, and the flotsam is able to be, anybody finds it, finders, keepers, losers, weepers. The jetsam, if you're throwing it off, the original owner can claim that. So if it's flotsam, it's anybody gets it, you find it, you claim it, you got it. The jetsam is you're scuttling it yourself, and you get to you get to claim it back on your own.
Okay.
And then there's a third one that's sort of like jetsam. It's called Langan, Lagan.
Okay.
And that's
You're successful. You're 3 for 3.
and that
3 things I've never heard of.
okay, and that
For common phrases.
Yeah, talk to us for a boat owner. Well, this was timely because if you go over the 312 bridge, you still got the mast leaning up about it, of the ship that broke away, and it's still leaning up against the 312 bridge.
Okay,
so that's
did
still
the
there.
boat run into the bridge or the bridge run into the boat?
I saw the bridge was. I think the bridge was culpable personally.
Yeah.
I think the bridge ran into the boat, but we can never
I
prove
saw that boat. That boat might have been there first.
Yeah, forever, and it's still there.
Yeah.
And the Langham is something that if people were jettisoning something. And they would put a buoy on it so that if it sunk, they could drag it back up. So they knew where it was and they could salvage it. So there's salvage terms involved in it. And, they come from the French, flotter for floating and jettison for jetson. Not George. Mm-hmm. But that's it. That's it. So if you see something floating and it wasn't thrown overboard intentionally, it's all yours.
All right. Yeah, like I said, I've had a boat for a long time.
Right.
A long time. I think I've owned a boat since '94.
Okay.
Here and there. I've owned like 3 or 4 boats here and there. And I've never heard those terms once, and luckily I have never had to use.
Hopefully you won't ever have to.
Hopefully I haven't had to use them.
But if you do, jettison stuff, don't float it because that way you can reclaim it.
Okay, it's not flotsam, it's flogsam.
No, it's
Long Island pronunciation, and it's FLAUGHT
no
SOM.
FLOTS, either AM or OM, depending on your spelling.
Okay, spell it again. Your way.
FLOTSOM. AM or OM?
So it's not FLOAT.
Correct.
That's
Flotsam.
the way-
Flotsam.
Flotsam. That's
Flotsam.
How do you spell float?
FLOAT.
Okay.
But this is flotsam. There's
Flotsam.
no A. There's no A.
Okay.
I promise.
Okay. But you're saying flotsam.
I know, but I
Okay.
speak weird.
Yeah, Rick, am I wrong? Or am I
No,
wrong?
you're right on. I'm
Okay.
following you.
All right.
All right, so it's
But I
flotsam.
also know the English language is
Flotsam.
spelled so
Flotsam.
crazy.
Okay.
Okay, so you're familiar with flotsam then?
No, I'm still not familiar with the damn term.
I didn't mean to confuse it by putting an A in.
All right. And Ricky, did we spell aviation wrong in the title?
Probably.
Okay,
I told
all right.
Amanda I was going to spell check it, and I was running around doing the speaker.
Okay.
And
All right.
sorry about that.
Yeah.
But that's Rick spelling.
It's already
for sure.
already one of our accidents. It's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
At least it wasn't a plane
Fortunately, nobody
accident.
died.
Yes.
Everybody survived.
Right.
And we didn't have to flotsam.
Right.
So
And we didn't jettison anybody.
we didn't jettison. We didn't have to jettison or flotsam or.
So what do you got for me?
Well, I don't know. I think you're really pushing the envelope with this one. And that's my term. Pushing the envelope.
Yep.
So,
Thank you,
Ricky, have
Chuck.
you heard the term pushing the envelope?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So pushing the envelope is an aviation term.
Go ahead, Chuck Yeager.
All right. So pushing the envelope, and Chuck Yeager was the king of
The
pushing
man.
the envelope.
Yep.
And the envelope is the area in which it's safe to fly your particular plane. Every plane has a different envelope. All right. And say the plane I had was a Warrior, and it really wasn't safe to go over 10,000 feet. Sometimes we'd slide up over 10,000, and we'd be pushing the envelope if we were above the safety factors. Sometimes you had a flight zone of 1,000 where you drop below that 1,000 feet, and you'd be really pushing the envelope because it feels like you're rubbing your belly on the ground. All right. So pushing the envelope came from World War II, and the envelope was many times set outside of the gun range. And if you drop down, you could be pushing the envelope of being in range,
Of the
or
flak,
you'd be,
yeah.
you know, because of the flak,
Right.
and you would be pushing the envelope of how high you could actually get with the plane. So there was an envelope in which you had to fly in and stay within that envelope for safety reasons.
I'm trying to remember what the show that was just on, 6 months ago about World War II pilots. It was like the compatriot to the Pacific. It was so well done, but so frightening. How many people, how many planes in World War II were shot down? I mean, these guys would go up. They'd send 100 planes up to do bombing runs into Germany, and 6 would come back.
Yeah.
It was horrific.
And I talked briefly about a person who I befriended, and I have great respect for, and he's passed away. He passed away 12 years ago this week. George McGovern.
Yeah, we were talking about him last night, or Tuesday night.
He was a bomber pilot.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize. I think it was B-32s.
B-12s, 52s.
I think it was a B-32 is what he flew. And he flew over 35 missions in combat areas in Europe. He won 4 distinguished
Flying crosses.
Flying crosses. And a lot of people didn't know that part of him. They knew him as the super lib of 1972
Right.
who tried to legalize marijuana back in 1972.
Man was
What a
ahead-
horrible idea.
Man was
Who
ahead of
would
his time.
Who would ever think to do that?
Right.
But in
Well,
1972,
hopefully 61% of the people in Florida.
This is this is the guy who knew in 1972, hey, this isn't a bad idea. And he would say in his speeches, he would say, well, it's a lot better than alcohol.
Yeah.
And wow, some of that kind of resonates now, doesn't it?
I looked it up. Florida is the second most stringent state on a lot of things, but to get a constitutional amendment passed, only New Hampshire at 67%, 2/3 majority in New Hampshire to get a constitutional amendment passed. Florida, it's 60%. All the other states are 50 plus 1.
Okay, and I think this was about 15 years ago. It might have been before you got here. Mm-hmm. Did you see the state constitutional one where you had to tie your pig up?
No. That
right.
must have struck home.
It passed, by the way.
Okay.
It passed, and it was basically you had to separate your sows during the mating.
I do remember that you had to separate
mating time and stuff like that.
Yeah. Was it that long ago?
It might have been 12 years ago.
Because I remember something about this, that it was big talk about you had to, you keep your sows
but it
from
always
your hogs.
comes up when it always comes up in the amendments, and it passed.
Right.
And how it got on there, I don't know. And farmers do this anyway. You separate your sows from the rest of the group anyway, so that the piglets stay safe. They don't get trampled, and the boars a lot of times will attack the piglets. So you already have to do that.
Right.
But we didn't need a state amendment to tell if you're that dumb of a farmer.
Right. You won't be in business
shouldn't
long.
be a farmer, and you're not going to be in business
You messed
long.
that up one time and you learned.
Yeah, you don't need that. And if you're that dumb, you're probably not reading the amendment to know that you're supposed to do that.
Well, here's a wacky one for you. Ohio's got, I think it's this year, on the ballot to change their threshold from 50% to 60%. So, that just seems to be a little bit oxymoronic.
Yeah.
You have to have 50% of the people vote to say that 50 plus 1 to say that 60% will be the next threshold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nuts.
It's incredible. All right. We talked about alcohol, so I'm going to start off with this guy. All right. And I didn't realize this until I did some reading on today's research. John Denver. All right.
Forgot about it.
I didn't realize John Denver died. He was piloting and he crashed in Monterey Bay, California at the age of 53. He was going through a lot of stuff at the time. And some of the things he was going through is he was going through some legal things because he had received 2 DUIs. All right. He had lost his pilot's license. All right. He had lost his medical. When you're a pilot, you have to get a medical like every 2 years, and as you get older, it becomes every 6 months or every year, and then it goes every 6 months. And that's to make sure you're competent to fly, you're healthy enough to fly, and you don't take out everybody in the plane. Well, John Denver couldn't pass his medical because of his DUIs. So he didn't have it because of his medical.
Right.
They had stripped him of it, and yet he still went and flew. But when he was flying, in the time of his accident, completely sober.
Right.
But as soon as he went down, everyone's like, "Oh, I bet he was drunk."
Right.
But I didn't realize he wasn't legally allowed to fly.
Well, what caused
at the time of his crash?
What caused his crash? Did they tell you?
They actually just said it was pilot error. So
it's a lot of these are pilot error. Actually,
they just said it. And that when I was trying to get my pilot's license and I got through everything, and I can tell you it was a beautiful day. I did my little solo landing and stuff like that, and they cut off your sleeve and they make a big ceremony out of it. And I had about a 700-pound pucker factor. All right, and I don't know if you know the level of pucker factors. But a 700-pound pucker factor is at the level where you have a grease needle up your ass and a tractor can't pull it out. So that's the kind of pucker factor I have. And the weather was perfect. And I can tell you this, I never flew again by myself as a pilot. I was like, I have all these young pilots, and they need hours. I'll pay them $35 a day, and I don't kill myself.
Right.
So that was my strategy from then on out, because on the best possible day, I was nervous.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if something really crappy would have happened, I could have killed my family. And a lot of the stories are people that flew into situations where they didn't have the skill set to be in that situation.
Well, being in small planes as opposed to jets, where you're in a plane, which is a bus in the air, it's very, very different. My roommate in college was from a family of pilots. His father flew for United. Ziggy is probably one of the most competent pilots I've ever known. He had a Musketeer, a little prop plane at college. We'd go up in that, and it's really disconcerting because when you're up there, and here you fly. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that part's really easy.
Well, yeah, right.
Just keep it level.
Right. Keep it level with the horizon. But what I find really fascinating is you hear the engine going, but you don't necessarily have a sensation of motion.
Yeah.
No. That's a little wacky.
You're doing 120 knots, and it looks like you're not moving.
You're standing still. It's great. But Zig, first of all, brilliant man. he's got a DC-9. He rehabbed a DC-9.
Oh, that's big one.
Yeah, absolutely. He took. We were out in California one year, and he flew Julie and I over Alcatraz, the Golden Gate Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
You leave the harbor, you go out into the ocean, and all of a sudden you're in one of those legendary fog banks.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, what a trip that was! That was just one of those.
And that's how
things that
quickly it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's VFR, visual,
right,
and IFR, which is an instrument.
Right.
Instruments. So I mean, that's a key point too. But we're talking about inexperienced pilots,
right? And a lot of these pilots that didn't come out of their crashes were. They were VFR rated. They weren't IR rated, and they either shouldn't have been flown that day, or and they lost sight of where they were. I mean, that happened at Junior. JFK Jr.
JFK went into a death spiral.
Well, but
he wasn't
Right.
IFR.
No, he was not.
And he got into clouds. And when you get into clouds, and if you go into, and I've been in a plane enough to know, you don't feel it happening.
Right.
Unless you understand you're losing altitude and you're actually going in a circle, even though you think you're flying straight ahead.
Right. It's like I said,
And
it's disconcerting.
you're losing altitude, and that's what happened.
See, but part of his problem was he tried to take a shortcut. Mm-hmm. He was going up to a cousin's wedding. He was going to drop his sister-in-law off, I believe, in Martha's Vineyard, and the wedding was maybe it was in Nantucket or wherever it was. But he was going to drop his sister-in-law off, and instead of because he was not instrument rated, he was only VF rated, and a couple things happened. He had the wrong setting on the radio. He had it set on 127.25, and that was a weather station coming out of Martha's Vineyard, instead of 126.25, which was the airport station. So he didn't have communication with them. And what he did is, instead of he was visually rated, so instead of going up the coast of Rhode Island and coming across in that way, he went over open water. And he lost any sight of any landmark or anything that would have helped him find direction. And now it's pitch black, and you're over the ocean, and there's no frame of reference.
Yeah.
And that was part of the problem for him as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, and they found all three of them.
They recovered them strapped in.
Still strapped in in the plane at the bottom of the ocean.
Yep.
But I mean, he went into the spiral, and if you're in it and you're in the clouds, you have zero frame. So if you're not looking at your instruments and you're going, okay, I'm losing altitude. Okay, I'm not going due north, and you're not staying on those numbers. It can happen, and that's exactly because he didn't have enough skill set. I think was he in a Bonanza?
Do I have that down here? I don't have it. I
think he was in a Beechcraft Bonanza, and those Beechcraft Bonanzas have the nickname. You know what their nicknames are?
I'm afraid to ask.
The Doctor Killers.
There you go.
Because it's people with pretty good money and not enough skill set and a lot of power.
Right. I think the technical term for what happened to him was spatial disorientation.
Yeah. No, that's a death spiral. Yeah, that's what it is.
Right.
All right, another person that actually took out 3 rock and roll legends was a 21-year-old pilot, and Buddy Holly hired this pilot, hired the pilot, and it was a 21-year-old pilot. It was bad weather. The bus was unreliable.
Yep.
Richie
Valens
was under the weather.
Right, he was getting sick.
Obviously, Buddy and the Big Bopper had seats on the plane. There
was a coin flip.
Yeah, but the Big Bopper and Buddy had their seats.
Right.
The coin flip was between Richie and, was it Waylon?
Yes.
I think it was Waylon Jennings, who was, I think, Buddy Holly's guitar player.
Yeah.
And Richie won the coin flip, but actually lost the coin flip.
Right, unfortunately. And he was 19, I think.
Yeah, 17.
Oof.
He was 17, and he'd been married twice.
At 17?
At the same time.
Oh, well. So then that's just only...
Yeah, he was a polygamist at age 17.
Go figure.
Yeah, talking about an overachiever.
Okay. Well, hi there. Hi, honey, I'll be home later.
Yeah.
Hi, honey, I'll be home later.
Yeah, but he was 17. He was already had like a number 1 hit, and
La Bamba.
He wasn't feeling well on this tour. He was out there.
It's in the middle of winter. They were in Clear Lake, Idaho. It was snowing. It was horrible weather. It was a bus tour that was just
the
horrible.
bus was breaking down, and the heater on the bus wasn't working well. So it was like, that's the reason Buddy Holly's like, all right, I'm just going to fly. I'm just going to fly.
Yeah.
It was just going to play, and that was their demise. Is they had a pilot who was 21 years old with less than 200 hours of flying time.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and got himself in a bad situation.
I see your 200 hours, and I match you with poor Patsy Cline.
Oh, Patsy. This is a crazy story. Sorry, I've used that joke twice now.
Crazy for saying I'll fly you. March 5th, 1963, Patsy Cline gets into a plane with 3 other people. Randy Hughes, who was her manager, and the pilot, who was the son-in-law of Cowboy Copus. Cowboy Copus or Hawkins? There were 3 people. There's a guy by the name of Cowboy Copus, Hank Shaw Hawkins, and Randy Hughes was the pilot, and Patsy Cline. And they were flying from... they were flying to Nashville, and they made it as far as Camden, Tennessee. And this guy, Randy Hughes, was flying, and he had a total of 160 hours flying time and 44 hours in the plane, which was a 2-year-old plane. And you know what? He had no VFR, he had no IR, he had VFR training, and he flew into trees. And it was not good, and none of them walked away.
Yep. No, it was not good. How old was Patsy at the time?
You know what? For some reason, I had everybody else's age, but you never ask a woman her age.
Good point.
So I don't have that, unfortunately, because everybody else's ages I have.
All right. So talking about flying into trees, Ricky, if you would pull up Leonard Skinner.
A lot of these people flew into trees.
All right, these guys flew into trees. So Leonard Skinner, Leonard Skinner is probably the closest one to us. I mean,
Right.
Jacksonville.
It's local, yeah.
You know, we consider Leonard Skinner local. And Ricky, you're in the music world, but you're not in really this genre of music a whole lot.
No.
Do you know how Leonard Skinner got their name?
I don't actually
Leonard
know.
Skinner.
Yeah.
All right. So I think a lot of people our age probably know this story.
Yep.
So Leonard Skinner, the Van Zant family, and they all went to Robert E. Lee High School in Jacksonville.
Nice.
And they just really weren't into a whole lot of discipline, and there was a dress code there. And the dress code, what they would do is they would grease down their hair because your hair wasn't allowed to touch. You would be screwed, by the way.
I have the picture up. If you look, they all have my hair.
Yeah.
But your hair was not allowed to touch your collar. So they greased down their hair. And at that time, when we were going through school, once you did PE, you had to take showers.
Yeah. Yep.
Community showers, everything hanging out, all in the same group. No shame whatsoever.
Right.
And when they got their hair wet, the only person that saw their hair touch their collar was the PE coach.
Right.
All right. And the PE coach kept getting these guys in trouble, and they just couldn't stand this dude. And his name was Leonard Skinner.
Right.
Oh, wow.
All right. They went through probably 20 different names before they dropped out of school. I mean, about half the band dropped out of school. Not all of them did. I think Ronnie stayed in school. But half of them dropped out. And then at this local festival, they came out with this name, Leonard Skinner. And it's stuck ever since.
That is pretty cool.
All right.
Never knew.
So, but on October 20th, so we're pretty close to the anniversary of it, just 4 days ago. On October 20th, 1977, Leonard Skinner, their plane crashed. It went down in Gillsburg, Mississippi. It ran out of fuel, and Ronnie Van Zant, the lead vocalist, the guitar player and vocalist Steve Gaines, and his sister, who was a backup singer, Cassie Gaines, all lost their lives. The rest of them, there was 3 other people that did lose their lives. One of them being the assistant road manager. The 20 others survived, but they were banged up pretty good. The irony of this story, and the horrible part of this story, is the plane that they were on, because they were doing the tour, and that's what you did in the 70s. Aerosmith, a month earlier, looked at this plane, inspected the plane, and said it was too dangerous to fly. And yet, this still happened. And Billy Powell, one of the band members, talks, and it's a very sad and emotional interview about Cassie Gaines dying in his arms because she was alive and bled out at the crash amongst the trees there where the plane crashed. So and Leonard Skinner still tours today. The family's still strong, and still one of my favorite. I mean, these guys were just incredible. So
good rock and roll.
Yeah.
All right, let's stay on that good classic rock and roll and go to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Okay, it was August 27th, 1990. He had just finished 2 nights of concerts in Alpine Valley, outside of Chicago. It's Wisconsin. He opened for 2 nights for Eric Clapton. Coincidentally, I had seen that show.
Got a slow hand.
Slow hand is Clapton, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He's got a slow hand.
Yeah, well, he plays pretty fast too.
Yeah,
he can.
But he makes it look slow.
Well, he just does it well.
Music's moving fast, but he makes it look slow. He does
it well. Coincidentally, I had seen Stevie Ray Vaughan at the Jones Beach Theater 2 or 3 nights before the show before he went to Chicago, and what a great freaking tour! Eric Clapton wasn't there; it was just Stevie Ray Vaughan. But man, a beautiful night, gorgeous night. It's an open amphitheater. It's sort of like the amp here, but it's a little bit larger, and it's right on the.
But not as cool.
No.
Just say not as cool.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not.
All right.
But the view is.
I didn't want to have to look for a new co-host.
It's open water. It's a beautiful place. And to have him playing blues when you're sitting there on a beautiful night, fabulous. But the show's over. They lined up 4 helicopters on the Elkhorn Golf Course, and he was going to get in one, but there wasn't enough room, so he got in another one with Eric Clapton's bodyguard, his assistant tour manager. Like I said to you earlier, it's tough being a tour manager on some of these things because they go down with the ship. His wife didn't get on the plane. Stevie Ray Vaughan's wife didn't get on the plane. And the pilot was a young pilot by the name of Jeff Brown. And they had all these planes lined up, the helicopters. It was a Bell Jet Ranger helicopter.
Okay, that's pretty much what we have as the sheriff's helicopter out there is a Bell.
I hope their pilots are instrument rated as opposed to just VFR rated, because the pilot, Jeff Brown, had just failed his instrument rating.
Oh, my gosh.
And the planes take off. His was the last one off the ground. Clapton gets to Chicago. Everybody else gets to Chicago. And they're wondering why the 4th helicopter's not landing in back of them. And they don't find it. And what happened was, guy takes off, and somebody did, experts tried to recreate the crash to determine who had the culpability in the lawsuit, and it ended up being the company that rented the helicopters.
Okay.
And this helicopter pilot and another expert go up in the same aircraft, in the same helicopter, and they recreate this whole thing. And they go up and they fly and they do it and they come back down, and the one of the experts tells the pilot, "All right, I'm going to fly. You sit here. Close your eyes when I tell you, and don't open them until I tell you open the plane. And open your eyes." And they go up and they do this, and they go up, and he says, "All right, close your eyes," and they go. He says, "Tell me what your sensation is." "Oh, we're fine. We're going forward." He said, "Now open your eyes." And he opens his eyes and goes, "Holy shit!" And they realize they're like yay far from the hill that's in front of them.
Yeah.
And they pull up and they're fine because they were doing
the other guy knew what was going on.
Right, because they were doing the
He was
experiment.
expecting.
What they found out that had happened is there were large parking light towers with lights on them. And the transition for this pilot coming out of the lighted ground from the parking lot lights, and then he gets above the parking lot lights, and it's now pitch black, and he's completely disoriented because he went blind for a second.
Yeah.
Because from the brightness, because his eyes adjusted to the light.
Yeah.
And now it's pitch black, and he hasn't had time to adjust, and he flies into a 300-foot ski slope. Everybody crashes and dies.
Oh, wow.
And it's a shame because, Stevie Ray Vaughan is fabulous. And it was sadder even still because Stevie Ray Vaughan had checked himself in a couple of years before that, for alcohol addiction, drug addiction and stuff. He had been clean and sober for a couple of years, and the guy was clean and sober, and, the pilot flies him into a mountain and ends him.
All right, because it's talks and tangents. So we got to go on the tangent. This is tangent of the week.
Okay.
All right. Best guitar player living and best guitar player ever.
Ever.
Okay.
Well, I'm
best
going to be
guitar
partial.
player living, and the living one could be the ever one also. So I know you're a Hendrix guy.
Actually, I'm not.
You're not?
I was going.
Oh, you're going with Hendrix?
Yeah, Jimi Hendrix.
You're saying
Woodstock.
on your ever is
Yes.
Hendrix. Okay.
Yep.
No, I mean, I got to stay true to the tie-dye. I'll go Jerry Garcia. And for years in high school, our friends would sit at the lunch table and go back and forth between Clapton and Garcia, and Garcia.
Yeah.
Hendrix never came into the conversation back then for us.
He never did.
Nope.
All right.
I appreciate him. I think Little Wing is great, but I was never a Hendrix guy.
See, my guy's still living.
Okay.
All right. My guy's been to the amphitheater like 4 times.
Okay.
Buddy Guy.
So I'm just this trip.
Amazing.
So I'm just this trip.
He's almost 80.
He's
and just amazing. And he said, when I was teaching Clapton,
Right, exactly.
this is how he played it. And he plays Clapton.
Yeah.
And then when I was playing with such and such, and he went through, when I was telling Hendrix how to roll this lick, and he goes through and he crushes it.
Yep.
I don't know if Buddy Guy gets the credit for what he's done, but I'm telling you right now, he's the only one of the amazing ones I've seen live.
Right.
And I was just like chin on the ground, like holy cow! I had no idea he was that talented.
No, I've had the absolute privilege to see a lot of great guitar players. I've seen Clapton a couple times, Jerry Garcia, I don't know, 70 times. Buddy Guy 5 times, and Buddy Guy is right up there. I saw B.B. King 5 or 6 times.
I've seen B.B. King.
B.B. King and Buddy Guy, Willie Nelson. These guys are so ancient that if they're touring, you go because you don't know if you're going to get another opportunity to see them.
You're going to see him again.
And Buddy Guy was great because the night he played the amphitheater it was a rescheduled concert. It was in July, I guess, because it had been set for December. He got sick. They postponed it to July. And it was a night that it was a horrible storm comes up. But everybody's in the seats of the amphitheater. It was the first time I've ever seen him bring a tarp out onto the field of a stage. They stopped the concert. They put a tarp over all the equipment. And he's out there and he's going, don't you worry, I'm going to finish the show. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. And he came out. And of course, when you go see Buddy Guy, when you see a set of steps from the stage to the floor, he's coming into the audience. He always does.
He always comes in the
Always
audience.
does.
And here's the other thing a lot of people don't realize. Might be why I love Buddy Guy too.
That's Chicago blues.
Buddy Guy, in his writer, and I'm sure it's still in every writer he still has. He has a bottle of a certain type of cognac. It has to be that bottle of cognac, a velvet pillow, and a stool. All right? So you have the cognac sitting on the stool, velvet pillow with a shot glass in the middle of it. And every time you see him walk off stage right, I don't know if you can recall the concert.
I can.
He walks off stage, he'll take a shot of cognac, come back on, barely miss a lick on his guitar, and then walk back on stage. He does that 3 or 4 times a show.
Yep.
But no one can see when he steps off, he's doing that cognac.
Good for him.
And like I said, this guy, I don't know, he's got to be close to 80.
Oh, he's over 80.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he's in his mid 80s, if not earlier.
Might be. So, but he's my all time, and probably Clapton's my next.
Clapton's good.
Next guy.
And it's funny. And who was it? Was it Barbara Jean? Yeah, but Prince.
Oh,
who is somebody who
Prince.
I never appreciated what a good guitar player he was.
And Barbara Jean's 100% correct. He's an amazing guitar player.
You don't realize that.
But he's not just an amazing guitar player. He can play any instrument out there.
Yep.
And here's a guy who's going to blow your mind that can play every instrument also. And you'll be like, come on. Kid Rock.
Yeah.
He played every single instrument when he was here. He played every single instrument. He played the bass over top of the girl who was playing the bass, and he played he took a lead guitar, did the rhythm, played the drums, played every single instrument, and just crushed it. But Prince, I think one of Prince's albums, or it might have been just one of his tracks, he played every single instrument. He did backup and did the lead, and I can't remember. It might have been Raspberry Beret or something like that. But every single component of it was Prince. So
I think Bobby disappeared for a couple of minutes to go get a shot of cognac because he missed our Stevie Ray Vaughan segment.
Oh no, that was in there earlier.
Oh, okay.
We came in with Stevie Ray Vaughan after he had already mentioned it. All right, back on track. We got to go through our sponsors. Coquina Coast Realty. Give me a call, 904-669-7901. Kaiser's Deli and Market. If you haven't tried the bollocks, Ricky, you need to get your butt in there and try it.
You can go straight pastrami too, trust me.
Go to the pastrami and turkey.
How late are they open?
Till about 6, 5 on a weekday. Gotcha. Closed on Mondays.
Yeah. But talk to Kirk over there. Tell him you heard about us on the Bollocks Talks and
It's the evening.
I do a lot of shows.
It's the evening.
All right. St. Augustine Pirate Museum. We're going to talk about a pirate soon. Get over there. A wonderful, wonderful museum. Thank you, Croce family, for bringing it to St. Augustine.
Not the Jim Croce family
not the Jim Croce. We're going to talk about a Croce later too.
Okay.
And Abear Kresge and Associates, best CPAs in town. Give them a call. They will get you money that you did not even think you were available for. All right, Meehan's Irish Pub.
Just go.
What is yours? You like the clams, right?
The drunken clams.
All right.
Drunken clams. Julie's big on the mac and cheese.
See, I'm a chicken curry.
I know you are. And you know, I can't do, as good as it is, I can't do their French dip there because I got to be loyal to Kurt Kaiser and the French dip at Kaiser's, which is really, really good.
Yeah, you can't really argue with
but the Reuben?
Barbara Jeans, too. She says living Eric Clapton and past
she was Prince. Yeah, exactly.
Can't argue with those.
No.
Can't throw up a real tough argument.
You know, I haven't done it yet, and I don't know if he still does it, but, you know, one of my bucket list things is going to London for Clapton's 24 Nights when he does the rock and roll band, the blues band, and the full orchestra.
Yeah.
And that's just, if I can get there for those 3 shows, I would be a happy, happy person.
All right. And last but not least, and talking about rock and roll, we got to talk about the Hall of Fame this week. Cool and the Gang going in and share. Big shout out to those two. Long overdue for both of them.
Yep.
All right. St. Augustine Distillery. Loving the Reserve rum. It's excellent.
I'll get in frame.
Rum.
Don't you worry, Ricky. I'll get in frame somehow.
Yeah. Just hold it right towards it.
I come sit on your lap.
And City Gate Spirits. Next week we're excited. We're gonna. What are we doing next week?
We're doing the Mango Daddle Whiskey.
Mango Daddle Whiskey. Excited about next week.
A week to work on a recipe.
Yeah, so we got to figure out what mixture would work best for the Mango Daddle.
I might have to take that home and do some samples.
Do some
samples?
I might have to do some.
I may have to do some mixology.
Because you crushed the last one, I'll give full confidence in you coming up with another great one. All right. Said I was going to talk about a pirate. And this pirate was a philanthropist.
Man, was brilliant. And a hell of a ball player. Ooh, baby.
Hall of Fame baseball player.
Absolutely.
And he was...
handsome man, too.
He was a handsome man, number 21, and he was a Pittsburgh Pirate.
Yes, he was. We knew we had a pirate.
He won 2 World Series. And his name's Roberto Clemente. Roberto Clemente...
Terrible loss.
He actually... One of the big thresholds in baseball is to get 3,000 hits.
Yep.
He ended in 1972. He ended his career with exactly 3,000 hits on the last day of the season. Where was he going? He was going to
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua
from Puerto Rico.
There was an earthquake in Nicaragua. Yep. He was flying out of Puerto Rico.
San Juan,
Puerto Rico. And he was taking 80. He was 38 years old. And he was going to
Told you, handsome man.
Managua.
Thank you.
To bring aid and supplies. to the earthquake survivors. The plane was overloaded with supplies by 4,200 pounds. It wasn't like it was like 8 pounds over.
Right. No, it was heavy.
It was 2 tons.
He was packing in as much relief as he could.
It was 2 tons over. And just after takeoff, it was just too heavy.
Yep.
And Roberto basically made the statement. He's like, we just got to get this stuff to him.
Yeah.
So was that a pop in our system there?
I did not hear it.
I heard it,
Did you hear it in the speaker?
Yeah, it might have been just in the speaker.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
might have. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know if you had some chili for dinner
No,
tonight,
I'm
Ricky. You're
You
good?
forgot to bring me my
Thinking
chili.
about this Kaiser's Deli. That's why I asked if it's open.
I got to make another batch.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
It's,
All right.
Yeah,
All
'cause
right.
I'm making another batch. This
I know where you
weekend.
live.
Yeah. So
I'll bring the kayak.
Yeah. Nope. So Tuesday I'll remember to bring you some
Okay.
chili. And Ricky, you still haven't had my chili either.
No, I've
Okay.
had Blake's mac and cheese. That's the only Blevins dish I've got to try.
Yeah.
We like Blake cooking.
Yeah.
he's good.
Clemente. Oh, his mac and cheese is solid. But Clemente, and we're now on athletes.
He's a humanitarian.
Yeah, we're now on athletes, and we
Okay.
have some amazing
All right.
athletes on this list.
I got one for
So
you.
what athlete you got?
I got Payne Stewart. Oh, yeah. Which, by the way, is
This was a rough one to watch because
right. It was live on TV almost. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's today's the 24th. Tomorrow's the 25th anniversary of this happening, October 25th, 1999. Payne Stewart, one of the most engaging, let alone talented golfers. Payne Stewart was he was a crowd favorite because it didn't matter where he was playing. He wore plus fours. Plus fours are the little knicker pants.
Yep.
And he would wear plus fours in the color of the football team that was the home team in the
region,
in the area that he was playing golf in. And he lived in Orlando.
Heathrow.
Heathrow?
Heathrow. He lived in
East
just
Orlando.
north of Orlando.
Okay, I
He-
thought that was an airport in England,
No,
but okay.
Heathrow's a community. It's a very wealthy community.
Yeah.
Just north of Orlando.
Interesting. I know Windermere. I know all the lakes areas up there. I never heard of Heathrow.
Tim Raines lived in there. Payne Stewart lived in there.
The Rock.
The Rock.
Tim Raines.
Oh yeah. Oh, Rock Raines. Yeah,
Right,
not
yeah.
The Rock.
Oh well, sorry.
He's just
sorry.
Rock.
I lost my head. That's true. Exactly.
There is
right.
The
right,
Rock.
Right.
and
Exactly.
There's just
exactly.
Rock.
Forgive me for I have sinned.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But Payne Stewart, he's flying from Orlando to Houston for the final event of the season, the tournament championship, the tour championship, and he's flying to Orlando. And right after takeoff, apparently the plane didn't pressurize properly, so they were dead in seconds of a hypoxia.
Yeah.
they all just
kind of fell asleep.
Yep, and they were done. Plane was on automatic pilot for some reason that early in the flight.
Well, they were above. I mean, you can breathe pretty well up until about 10,000, and then once you get above that, but they had gotten to about 20,000 and hit it,
Automatic pilot.
and they leveled off. And at that point, you can kind of stay conscious for a little
Right.
bit, but you can't stay conscious for long.
Right, and at that point in time, you're also not thinking well.
Yeah,
Right.
And they were flying across the country.
They were going to Houston, from Orlando to Houston.
Yeah.
And it was a Lear jet. They all died of hypoxia, and the plane eventually ran out of fuel and crashed in Mena, South Dakota. Wow. So figure that one out. From Orlando, going to Houston, which would be straight across the Gulf, or just follow the
It's a
crest of the thing.
little bump up.
They went a wee bit north.
Yeah.
And I believe there was a fighter jet that followed them the whole way
In case they were
'Cause
they were going to crash
into population.
Yeah.
Yep. So there were people that were watching that flight, unfortunately. What a tragedy. And again, he was not unlike Roberto Clemente. This guy was a humanitarian as well.
Yeah, no, 100% humanitarian and loved just like Roberto Clemente. I think the humanitarian award for baseball is still given to
The Clemente Award. Absolutely.
Award,
Okay.
and it's the most honorable. Like you can win
Right.
6 MVPs, but it's more important if you win the Roberto
It's
Clemente
like
Award.
the Walter Payton Man of the Year.
and that is a badge of honor
Yeah.
amongst the players.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how many. I mean, Bonds won 7 MVPs.
Right.
Never won a.
No.
And you know what? He was never loved amongst his teammates or his players.
Right.
All right, athletes.
Let's stay in athletes for one more second.
All right. Well, we're at 28. I want to talk about an athlete that survived, and I
Okay.
didn't know this existed.
Okay.
And
Okay, go ahead.
I
ahead.
read this and I was like, oh my gosh, that's pretty wild. And it's a sports entertainer. How about
Fine.
that?
All right, I'll accept that.
All right. In the 80s, pro wrestling was really just starting to become nationally just booming. All right. Hulk Hogan, Randy Macho Man Savage, the Macho Man.
Yep.
By the way, Cincinnati Reds.
Okay.
Did you know he played for the Cincinnati Reds?
I did not. You know how well I follow wrestling.
Yes. So the Macho Man.
Not even wrestling.
Ricky, did you know he was a professional baseball player?
I did not know that.
Yeah. So he played for the Cincinnati Reds. The Macho Man did. And this guy, who was one of my favorite entertainers, Ric Flair. So Ric Flair was on a flight. He had on his way to an event in Wilmington, Delaware, with fellow wrestler Jimmy Valentine. I think one of the other Valentines is in the Wrestling Hall of Fame, but Jimmy Valentine. And upon the approach to his destination, the plane ran out of fuel. It was a short runway, and it ended up crashing into trees and hitting a utility pole. Flair broke his back in 3 places. Okay, I don't remember this at all. I mean, I was in high school and college when this took place.
Okay.
He broke his back in 3 places. This one I did know. I remember Jimmy Valentine being paralyzed. I didn't remember Ric Flair being in this accident. Valentine ended up surviving also, but he was paralyzed. And Flair was told he would never wrestle again. Flair ended up being like 17-time world champion.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know this until I started doing this study. And this is why I love doing this show.
Right.
Is I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that existed.
We find out a lot of stuff we didn't know.
Ric Flair was there. All right, you have another athlete we have to talk about.
Sadly, a lot of athletes.
Yeah, I have a couple too.
Yeah. No. This is one fell swoop.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you know where I'm going with this one.
I know where you're going with this.
They were Marshall.
Yes.
The Marshall Thundering Herd football team.
Yes.
In do I even have the date? Yeah, November 14th, 1970.
Yeah.
They did something that they normally didn't do. They chartered a Southwest Airways plane. It was flight 932. They were coming back from playing East Carolina. We got more Pirates. Mm-hmm. They were coming back from playing ECU Pirates.
Yeah.
Where they had just lost 17-14 to East Carolina University Pirates. So they were coming out of Greenville, North Carolina. So the plane was leaving Kingston, North Carolina, and they were flying back to Huntington, West Virginia. And on approach to Huntington, they hit trees and the plane crashed. It was a tragedy beyond belief. They hit a hill. The plane
disintegrated.
Pretty much. 37 players were killed. 8 coaches. They had a bunch of boosters on the plane.
Ricky put up a picture of it.
Yeah. 25 boosters and 5 crew member. So there were 75 people were killed in that plane crash. Marshall didn't take a charter plane since. I don't know if they're still not flying now. Mm-hmm. But for years they would only bus, and they figured that the majority of their games were local enough that the bus ride would be fine. And the sad part about this is so many people became orphans because of that, because they lost not only one or 2 parents, because in the boosters there were couples.
Yes.
And people lost both of their parents. Mm-hmm. And out of that came the movie We Are Marshall, for the resurrection of their football program and the determination which they were going to go. Yeah. And it was just, every one of these.
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every one of these is a tragedy.
I love the fact that they brought in Bobby Bowden as one of the characters in the movie. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that. He was coaching at West Virginia at the time. Yeah. And
was it Denzel Washington was in it? Was it Denzel?
It was McConaughey, I know.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey was the coach. Yeah. Did you, Ricky? You ever see the movie?
I did not. No, I haven't seen it.
We are
Marshall. We are Marshall. Sorry. Yeah. And it's the year after this crash is what the movie's about.
Right.
And just a really well done movie.
Right. You've got to just bring people back together. You've got to rise up. Everybody we're talking about today. Everybody was a tragedy, a great loss. Whether they were sports person, a musician. Every one of these people. They had so much more to give. We didn't even get to Kobe, did we?
No, we haven't got to Kobe, and we can't really talk about Marshall, about a team going down without talking about Alive.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you take that.
All right. I had so much stuff that I didn't dig into that, but I read the book when I was a kid. There's a book called Alive, and I don't even remember whose soccer team it was.
It was a national soccer team.
Right,
Wasn't
right.
it in Argentina?
It may have been, and they crashed in I want to say the Andes.
Yes.
They crashed on the top of a snowy mountain in the middle of winter. And
They clipped the top of one, and then they slid down. The back end completely came off, and then they slid down, and it came to a resting. And
there was a lot of survivors.
There were several survivors, but it was at the top of the mountain.
Yep.
And it was wintertime.
And it took a long time before they were found. And the only way they could survive, unfortunately, was they had nothing. I mean, they had snow that they had water because they had snow that they could melt, but they had no food.
Yep.
And
they had limited amount of food, and they had food for about 3 days.
And they were there for quite some time.
And they were there for months.
Yep.
And on the third day, a rescue plane, they thought they saw them. So they ate all their food. I mean, this was in the book. I don't know if it was in the movie as much.
Yeah.
But this was in the
book.
book.
I read that book as a kid.
All their food, their reserves, and they might have been able to make it, a little bit further. But they pretty much ate all their food at that point, with maybe a couple little crumbs here and there. And unfortunately,
hey Marco,
they didn't see the plane. Didn't see him. The rescue plane didn't see him, and they thought it did. And they ended up having to eat their teammates,
their fellow players. Yeah.
So,
and
Ricky, you ever heard this story at all?
Oh yeah.
It's called Alive.
Yeah.
It's called Alive, and the book is phenomenal. The movie's good,
right?
But the book is phenomenal.
The movie's a little sensationalizing, but the book, I read the book as a kid, and it's
yeah. All right, we didn't get to Kobe, and we're over on time.
No.
And Kobe is probably the most recent of famous people.
2020.
Where it was a helicopter ride. Again, somebody didn't know their surroundings. Yep. They came out of the fog and flew right into a mountain.
Pilot error.
Yep.
They had done the flight the day before, and
didn't know his altitude.
It was a 2-hour drive from where he wanted to be to where he wanted to go, which was to coach his daughter's basketball team.
And she was on the helicopter with him.
She was. It was 6 adults and 3 children. 3 children. Yeah. It was horrific.
Yeah.
And and it was dense clouds, and they hit a hill.
Yeah. Flew right into it.
Yep.
All right. Lenny, thank you.
Always.
I know you did a ton of research. Ricky, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate
pinch hitting for Blake here. I just want to say thank you to all the sponsors. Please share. We're going to be up on YouTube. If you see it on YouTube, make sure you're sharing it there too. We appreciate you guys. Thank you to our sponsors. This is Bollocks, Talks, and Tangents. We'll be back next week
with a cocktail of some interest.
Woo-hoo.
Baby.